Hello you guys. So this is a video for empty nester, divorced woman over 60 and why I will never date again. It's not because I don't like men. I do. But I'm not into old guys. Realistically, I have to be into grandpas. Now, when I say grandpas, I'm talking about gray-haired old men over 70. When I was a little girl, I had grandparents. They were old. They had gray hair and they were very sweet. Grandpa types. And when I was in college, I spent 3 years working in a nursing home and a hospital. I spent 2 years working in a nursing home, taking care of old people, bedridden. It was like a nursing home, not like an assisted living. These were people we had to feed and change their catheters and bathe them. And then I also did some private duty nursing aid work for people who were still living in their homes. That was a lot easier. But my experience of older men has been, either grandpa type or old and sickly and frail. They're not associated with hot fuckable hot. And so I bring that to the table. I have always liked older men. When I was in high school, all my boyfriends were a couple years older than I was, or 5 years older than I was. And I always found men in their 30s and 40s attractive. But then once I turned 40 or 50, I started liking younger men, feeling more attracted to younger men. I think that has to do with my animal spirits. This is not for all women, I'll tell you, because I've known women, attractive women in their 40s and 50s who love men in their 70s, who love that grandpa type. I think these women were looking for a daddy figure. I'm going to be honest with you. These women had bad relationships with their fathers or their parents, and I really think they were looking for a daddy figure to take care of them financially. I'll just put that out there. I do know that people in their 70s and 80s get married, but I know that men usually like women who are 5 to 10 years younger than they are. And the men that have seriously pursued me for wanting to date me were all in their 70s, and I'm just not into it. I'd rather die alone on an island and be eaten by sharks than have an old guy like that touch me. I'm going to be honest. So, because of my repulsion to old guys. Now, don't get offended because there are women who like you. I'm just telling my side. I will never date again. Young guys just want to fuck me. And old guys want to date me. I'm not into old guys. And that's the reality. I do think that these women that like older men, I think they're looking more for a caretaker. And I do think that a lot of women lose their libido when they're older, and then they like an older guy because he doesn't push for sex as much. They usually don't push for sex that much. Once they're over 70, they're not pushing for sex. They need us to warm them up. Usually. They're not as horny anymore. But in case they are, they're often disappointed to find that women in their 50s or 60s or women their age no longer have a libido. The libido thing is a big factor, I think. It depends on what you're attracted to. Coming from a pure libido standpoint, I just honestly feel zero attraction to an old guy. Zero. I feel compassion. I think they're sweet. I think they're interesting. I feel some pity. I feel some repulsion. I don't feel aroused. I'm sorry, I don't. I like those young guys, but young guys just want to fuck me. They don't have enough life experience with me. And therefore, because of that, I will never date again. Now, if I were a woman that lived 200 years ago and I needed a guy to provide for me, yeah, I would find some old geezer Sorry to call you that. I'm going to be blunt because you guys call us holes and rail and bale, so I'm going to use the same terminology. And even Jackie Onassis, back in the day, she didn't have any career or any of her own money, so after her husband died, she married Aristotle Onassis, some really repulsive, fat cheater guy who she didn't even like him touching her, but she did it because she needed someone to provide for her. And throughout history, women have married men who would provide for them. But if we don't need a provider, we need someone that we're attracted to or who's a good friend. Another thing about old guys, they always want to travel. Traveling is the last thing I ever want to do. I hate traveling. I do not particularly like flying. I do not like packing my suitcase. It stresses me out, and I'm a homebody. I love being at home. When I'm traveling, where's my Pilates? Where's my strength training? Where's my coffee in the morning? I love my familiar surroundings. I do not want to climb Mount Everest. I do not want to travel to the opposite side of the world. I do not want to sit on a plane for 12 hours. And I don't want to do the things that men like to do. Therefore, even old guys don't want me because they want to travel. They're looking for a travel buddy. I'm more looking for a fuckable guy. And if you're looking for fuckable, you do not want to go over 60, believe me, because the fuckability factor goes way down. Unless you get a guy who is an outlier. Because a guy who would rather travel than fuck is not a guy I'd ever want to be interested in, frankly. But on the other hand, if all they want to do is fuck, I have no use for them either. So that's just me being really straight up front and honest. I have more. I'm not done yet. Okay, so I'm a mother. I have kids and I have grandkids. I could only date a guy who loves children. And many people don't. I've seen in the comments, some guys actually hate children. They hate them. They don't want people with children to have tax credits. You know, they hate them. They want to bomb the children in Gaza. They hate children. Or they don't ever want children. They think it's a nuisance. That guy would never work. Not only does he have to like children, he would have to like mine. Same way I would like his. And my children are a contribution. There's no drama. There's no drug addiction. There's nothing like that. Most people have problem children. Their children are financially dependent. They're drug addicted. They have problems. And a lot of guys have problems with the ex-wife. All of that I wouldn't want to deal with. So you'd have to like children and mine. You'd have to be a good dad and get along with the ex-wife. You'd have to be good in bed. And you'd have to be willing to do all of his traveling without me and not be so needy and have me like do all these activities with him, because I like a lot of free time and a lot of alone time. His cock would have to work. He would have to be very good in bed. That would be the primary thing. And for me to enjoy him sexually, he would have to be emotionally, we'd have to get along emotionally. It would help if you liked the kind of foods I like to cook, because my ex-husband did not like the foods I like to cook at all, because I don't cook meat. I don't care if the guy cooks meat, but I'm not going to cook any meat. And it would have to be someone that likes the same things I do, has the same interests. But like I said, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I'm not here to whine or complain. I'm just here to explain on my channel why I have not dated since I got divorced 11 years ago, and why I don't think that I ever will. If I do date, it would have to be an outlier guy who's older than me, who brings it on in the bedroom, who's really into me, who's interesting, intelligent, and who loves kids, and who knows how to handle a woman. I already can hear the comments like, lady, no one wants to handle you. The good thing is, not everybody needs to handle me. It only takes one person. So you never know. It can always happen. But one of my biggest impediment is not being attracted to people who are, you know, nursing home quality. And when they're that old, pretty much they're nursing home ready. And to me, they're kind and sweet, you know, in the way that a little child is kind and sweet. But they're definitely not sexually attractive. And I definitely don't feel like that's a guy that can handle me, because physically they're already deteriorating at that age. They're losing muscle tone. I think that the presidential candidate, Bobby Kennedy, is an exception. He must take a bunch of supplements or something, because he's still very strong. He's got like good upper body strength. You know, like a lot of old guys already like this. You know, they don't have a core or upper body strength. They're kind of lost. They're losing their physicality, which is fine. I wouldn't have left my ex-husband over any of that. But to start a new relationship with someone who's frail and falling apart at this time in my life, when I'm still very active and I still have a libido and I still crave the strength of a man, it just wouldn't be good. If I get to a point where I become frail and no longer want sex, an older guy might look appealing to me. He could be someone interesting to go to dinner or have discussions with. But I can't imagine ever wanting to fuck a guy whose dick doesn't get hard. I'm just going to be honest. As long as I like sex, I'm not going to be interested in a guy that's older than I am. That's the fact. And there are not that many women my age who still like sex. You know? So, but I would rather have no sex than hookup sex. I don't hook up, and I'm willing to go without it. But I still have a libido, and I still want to fuck, and I still feel... When I see a hot guy, I'm always like, okay, Sharzad, check out. How old is this guy? And it's always a guy under 50 for sure. 20s, 30s, 40s. Yeah, that's just me sharing what I'm attracted to.